Okay, great. Thanks, Stephen. Thank you for that. We're going to have a very brief panel discussion now. So if we could ask all the presenters to come back on stage and take the seats, and then we'll be going around asking you guys for your opinions and your questions from the morning session. Okay, guys, any questions at all? I'll start off with one for Pat. I know in our presentation on access control we had a mag lock in our image, and I'd be interested to know when you should use mag locks, if you should ever use mag locks, or when they are compliant.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I couldn't actually hear myself then, so I figured I wasn't actually speaking into the microphone. I think one thing I'd like to make quite clear from the start is there are applications where a magnet is the correct solution. I mean, if you actually have a door that's a convenience door, you know, there's no need to escape, and there's certainly no fire issue on it. A magnet could be a sensible solution. I mean, clearly we can say it's not very aesthetically pleasing. It's clearly not going to give us any benefit in terms of dynamic lockdown because it's clearly going to fail unlocked when the power is broken. But there are applications where you can use a magnet. So we said there were 3 different types of door. Convenience, a magnet can be used. Fire door, now that's quite an interesting one. If it's a fire door application and there's actually no need to escape from that door, potentially you could use a magnet provided you actually have something that actually has a valid EN 1634 Part 1 fire test. There are products available. Again, not aesthetically pleasing, and it's certainly not going to give us life safety in dynamic lockdown. If we actually look at an escape door, my initial statement is very simple. You cannot use a magnet on an escape door. That's quite clearly covered under IS 13637, and interestingly, it's also covered under a technical guidance document from the Door Hardware Federation, who tend to be the people who actually interpret the information and feed it out, where it actually says quite clearly in there magnetic locks are not intended to be used on escape door applications. Why does it say that? Very simply, it's in conflict with the European standard for escape. Now that's actually not saying that it couldn't be part of a 13637 solution. So I'm really saying to you, magnets aren't necessarily dead. There are certain applications where they can be fitted. And the reality is, I'm going to give you a number. I would suggest probably within a building, there's probably only 5% of doors that it should be used on, not the 95% that is currently used on.
Great, thanks, Pat. Any questions from the crowd? Slow start. Oh, we have one.
I want to ask a question to the panel in general, and it's around the area of predominantly CCTV and standards. Is there any on-FIV standard that is recognised to fit all systems, or are there a number of different levels of on-FIV standards in the market?
I probably won't go into the same level of detail as Pat, otherwise there'll be another presentation. So there are 4 different ONVIF classifications. ONVIF, in my experience, maybe Paul might either agree or disagree, it encapsulates a very small amount of what any camera or VMS provider will deliver, and there's different profiles within that. Some are related to the cameras, some are related to the video management system, and there's even ONVIF now for access control. I think it's 7 years that ONVIF's been out. You'll generally find that it's getting a little bit more. There's more features being added into it, there's more process being added into it, but the sweet shop of sort of features that manufacturers will bring out, you can't actually bring that into ONVIF just because it is an open standard that lots of different people comply with. And if company A provides a certain technology or feature and company B doesn't, ONVIF won't include that because they don't want to isolate the market. Yet there are, I think there's 600 plus companies globally that have signed up to ONVIF now.
Brilliant, thank you.
Only to add that exactly the same thoughts, but you know, ONVIF, it's a great standard. It's something that we can all utilise, but it is for video really, and some basic features. Us as a company, Milestone, we're still doing a lot of direct integrations with a lot of the products that we work with. And we're doing that for a reason, because of, in Steve's presentation, all of the different things that you can do with the camera need to be implemented in a VMS system. And that's only going to get, as processing power increases, we're going to be able to do more on the edge. That's going to have to come back into a VMS system. So I see OnVIF as it's going to be there, but direct integration is also going to run alongside it, and I think we'll always continue to directly integrate devices that we work with.
Just as a follow-on question, Paul, which vertical markets do you find are embracing open protocol standards and integration more readily, and why, I suppose, as well?
We work across a whole host of verticals, and it doesn't limit to any particular one, but obviously because of some of the things I talked about up there is the intelligence in video leads us into being more successful with an open platform in different environments. So retail is a perfect example, because of some of the things I said and Steve said as well, is the intelligence around video. You know, what can we use it for? We can count people, we can track where people go, we can monitor behavior, and they're the reasons why an open platform software solution works in that particular vertical. But it's not limited to that. I mean, you know, transport, you know, again, outside of video, tracking parcels, tracking movement of vehicles, license plate recognition, limiting access or access control, using audio, you know, all these things are really opening it up into lots of different environments. So yeah, that's how
I think where Axis see an open platform and the benefits that you get from that is that there's tens of thousands of companies out there globally that are all spending their R&D money in specific niche features. And if you have an end-to-end solution, what you're doing is you're only getting, say, if they're a £100 million company, you're getting £10 million worth of R&D being invested in that solution. If you have an open platform, you get the benefit of lots and lots of different companies who are investing all of their money into different applications. Now, the companies that I presented have no commercial ties to Axis, but where we benefit from those companies is they actually invest in very specific niche features that companies like ours being open, Milestone being open, we get to benefit from those companies, and we get to leverage their sort of unique features within our solutions. And I guess moving forward, we actually find that even the companies that offer the closed solution are opening it up themselves as well.
Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting because, you know, being, as I said to you, the boring part of this, the hardware, the reality is the hardware is evolving. We actually have door automation products that actually have open protocol that can actually integrate with building management and access control. Okay, not particularly exciting, but take that to the next level. What if your physical key was something similar to the key we've been using for cars for years? The cars have an advantage. They have a power supply, a battery, which has made that technology easy to utilize within a car. But let's imagine that it's actually a gate in the middle of a field. Could we actually have an intelligent key that actually reports back through the access control product, actually commands the camera to turn to actually look to see who's opening it, or reports back through the building management system? Got my leads run the wrong way there, but never mind. The answer is yes, that's possible. And actually we have taken the same route as all of these guys, and we've decided the best option for us, and we're quite a big company, don't like to admit it, but we're Assa Abloy, I'm Abloy. But from an Assa Abloy perspective, we've taken the same route, open protocol.
Excellent. Any questions from the floor? There we go.
Just a quick question for Pat. Just going back to the idea of the mag locks and escape doors and green brake glass units and things like that. At the moment, like the, say, technical guidance document B and approved document B would say that you can use a green brake glass unit where you have electrically locked doors. But are you saying that's this new European standard has completely changed that? And will the documents follow? So would approved document be a change?
In actual fact, that's all technically correct there. I mean, number one is, we have building regulations now, whether we live in the Republic of Ireland or live in the United Kingdom, they're actually very similar. The benefit you guys actually have here is that your Department of the Environment have recognised a need to change. And they are actually well ahead of the game. You will have new legislation coming in force early next year. And that legislation recognises the change from the traditional emergency call point or door release and actually upgrading it to what we showed you earlier on, which was an IS 13637 solution. So the answer to that question is yes. If I was sitting in the UK, I'd give you a slightly different answer because the UK building control actually aren't ahead of the game like you are here. But the reality is the Constructions Product Directive is a legal requirement. If we're marketing, specifying, supplying a product, we need to supply a CE mark solution that actually meets those requirements. So regardless of what building regulation says, which is a guidance to actually making a safe building, we actually have to comply to that legislation.
Did you have a question, or was it this one?
Hey, I suppose it's for Access and Milestone. I've forgotten your names, apologies. I'm just, you've both said open about 1 million times, and I just really want clarification, because my experience of your systems is they're not very open. I mean, open to me is something like Linux, where I can get the source code, and I can change it if I want. I mean, is that what you mean by open? Is Milestone now, if I decide I want to build a module, can I get your source code and develop that, or is it open to a certain API, or is it?
Yeah, when we talk about open as Milestone, again, sorry, we develop our product to be open to everybody. So there is an API that we produce that's anyone can actually take that API and develop on top of it and run into the Milestone platform. So actually, of course, we do our own development and we work with all the different solutions partners that we do. But there's loads of different things that people are doing with Milestone that we don't actually know about, because they just take the API, they develop something unique and niche for them and go and work with it. And we want to find out about all these things, but that open, to me, from a commercial point, is, we want to work with, we want to be everybody's friend, and sit in the middle and just be the bit of software that everybody wants to work with. But taking it to the next level, the API is there. People can take it, develop one thing on it, and use it forever. So it is open, I think, in that way. Is there anything you want me to add on that, or is that answer?
No, I think I was just trying to clarify it myself. Like, God forbid, big companies go out of business all the time, and you went out of business tomorrow, and we've a massive complex with a Milestone system. Mm-hmm. Is that gone with that? Well, I'm actually talking from personal experience. We were using your system 99, 2000, mm-hmm. and I think it was very early in the day, and we were burnt by it. I know it's come on an awful long way since then, but things like a camera fails and the way the licensing worked, on a Saturday afternoon, you couldn't just change a camera because you had to ring Sweden to get the camera unlocked from Milestone and then relocked from Milestone.
Okay.
So that's, from my mind, it was always very restrictive,
Okay. I think, obviously the product's developed quite a lot from there. So I take your point, but it's changed in the way that all of them things, like the way things were locked down, are much more open as well. So the ability to do things and change things within the system, offline as well, to be able to get things done before it's back online and the licensing has to kick in, is much better than probably what it was. So apologies for your experience all them years ago. But yeah, I think that's improved immensely. In terms of Milestone going out of business tomorrow and carrying on, I suppose it's like anybody else, and it's really theoretical, because we're actually owned by Canon now, they've got a 200-year vision. So I think hopefully we'll be around for a little while. But if it did happen, I guess what you would lose, I'm sure someone would come in and use Milestone's platform and carry it on. But you would use the forward development, but as a product you wouldn't lose it because it's bought for, it's paid for, it's being used. So no, I don't think so.
You might give another shot, John.
To expand on that point, if the camera did fail on the current platform, would we still have to go to Sweden to unlock it?
No, we have support in the UK as well now, so you could probably ring us, but it's Denmark as well actually, where our support is. But
That's where you went wrong.
No, so the way it works now with the licensing is you can do a number of licensing offline, so you can make them changes on site as you need to, and then once you get network access again, it can do it in the cloud, reinvigorate, reactivate the license, and away it goes. So yeah, it's much easier and simpler to do now.
Did I see a question down here?
A lot of the installations we have double doors. Currently maglocked. What is the solution to that? Keeping in mind that one of the problems that we come up against is somebody coming up to the double door and pushing against it. A maglock will release once if somebody buzzes them through. An awful lot of the other door releases, if it's a withdrawable bolt, won't release under pressure.
Good question. One of the requirements of any device that's actually approved for use on an emergency panic or an electrically controlled emergency escape door is that the product has an ability to release under side pressure. Now, just because a product's got a lever handle doesn't mean it's actually going to work under side pressure. So the design of the locking device needs to actually take that into consideration. And roughly speaking, if you imagine 1.5 of me leaning on a door, that door must open as if I wasn't leaning on the door. So the reality is that any device that's actually approved for an escape door actually will probably perform better than a magnet, but let me accept that a magnet is always going to release. So I'm not saying the magnet won't release, but the actual device you're using on the door would have released quicker. And solution to double doors, that's quite a big subject, but it does depend upon the use of the door, i.e. is one door a slave door, is one door an escape door, are they both escape doors, do we need to escape in one direction or two directions, and the specification will change depending on all of those different things, but there are solutions for all of those applications.
Okay. Well, just to give you an example, let's say we have a set of doors, neither of the doors is a slave, escape is in one direction only, and the doors are used as an entrance, so there's an intercom. The problem is, at the moment, the people come up to the door, they pull the door, or they press the intercom and they pull the door before the person is released on the inside. That causes a jamming of the lock. The lock at the moment, I think, could be an EL420 mounted on the top of the door. I think it's a 420. I could be wrong on that.
Okay. The actual lock you gave me was the correct solution. If it was let's assume that set of doors was an aluminium door set. That's actually a narrow
timber
style. Okay, I'm just making an assumption.
Okay.
Turn it around to actually be a timber door. The correct solution would have been a 560, which actually is its sister product.
On a double swing door, 560. It's a double door.
It's a double door, yeah, that's not a problem because you said one of the doors was a slave
No,
leaf.
neither door is a slave.
Okay, you can still fit a 560 onto a double door set because you then use a door coordinator, which again needs to be CE marked. And the door coordinator, if I can say it, will actually ensure that the slave leaf closes first and the secondary leaf then closes second, and therefore you never get the doors out of sequence. So a double set of doors actually become effectively two single doors. So in that case, you could use an EL560, and preferably from where you were, your explanation, it leads on to outside. You've got an intercom system. I'd probably use an EL520, which is a motorized version. Why? Really simple. When I come to the door, there's no lever handle on the outside. I buzz to go in. I'm allowed to go in. The operative obviously presses the button, the motor will drive back, push the door open, door will shut, relock. The handle on the inside, which is live 24 hours a day, will always allow me to escape. The lock you were looking at was an EL402, which, by the way, should never be fitted on an escape door because it will fail under side pressure. The catalogue makes it clear not to be used on escape doors and not to be used on fire doors because, again, it's not a fire-tested product. It was a common solution that we used many, many years ago, and actually, if you like, it's actually an aesthetically pleasing magnet. But 402s, please don't use on escape doors or fire-rated doors.
Okay.
This is back to Pat again in relation to what Diarmuid was talking about. Is an EFF acceptable on one of those doors?
The product you're probably referring to is an FF351 U80 or M80. It's got a prism-shaped boat. It's
Yes. Yes.
The answer to your question is yes, but until we had EM13637, of course, that was actually arguably our best solution. It always allowed us to escape. It worked under side pressure. And actually, the 402 you were talking about...
No, it was actually a 351.
Oh, sorry. In which case, the 351 actually is an acceptable product for an escape door. It's also fire tested. But to answer your question there, the answer is yes, that's correct. But remember, the standard 13637 talks about joining together three elements, and those three elements are actually control, activation, and blocking. So the blocking element could be a 351M or U. And the reason I picked up on the 402 is we used to use that years ago as the 351 before we had a 351 and before there were standards out. So actually what you need to add to that is you need to actually add the control and activation, which traditionally we would have put an emergency call point and possibly interface it to the building's fire alarm system. It's now a little bit more onerous.
Okay, thank you for that.
Great. I have a question for Graham. We saw the many benefits of cloud technology for small, multiple sites, nationwide rollouts. Do you ever see cloud access control being applied to large hospitals or airports? And then I suppose a more general question to the group, where do you see cloud and Internet of Things in your different sectors of the industry?
Just to answer that, I think technically it's possible you could do it today or tomorrow. Really what it comes down to is the marketplace. A key point I suppose I picked up on was trust. As people start to trust the cloud, trust where their data is being stored, how it's being stored, what the point-to-point communication is, then yes, as soon as that realization comes into the marketplace, people start to use it every day on the smaller sites and they build it up. It all comes down to trust. If they trust the environment, they trust the data where it's been stored from point to point, then there's technically no reason. It's actually probably a better solution than an on-site solution.
Yeah, I think we've been sort of like utilising some form of cloud for a long time in video because we've always been trying to get remote access to video. Even if we go back, to when we sent video over telephone lines back to central stations, that's, we're trying to formulate a bringing everything together formula, which is what the cloud can do quite easily. Also Internet of Things. I mean, we've been putting devices on networks in our industry for a long time. So the Internet of Things just enables us, I think, to just do more of what we've been trying to achieve for a number of years. So I think we're quite in a good position for the future with things like that. And I suppose some of the advancements that we're looking at as Milestone, we're launching our own cloud product, but also video as a service, like a vast product that I think will be the next thing that's going to come into our industry. And the only limit that we'll have in the UK and probably here in Ireland as well is our infrastructure to make sure that we can develop that quick enough to be able to provide these things to get the trust, like Graham says, in the services and the infrastructure.
Okay, well, it's actually quite interesting here. I'm going to put my sales hat back on. Apologies. This is now an Abloy answer. we're already doing it. And it's quite good, actually, being the boring man with the hardware to actually say, yeah, we're probably a step ahead there. So we already do it for critical national infrastructure, water companies, electricity companies, gas companies. We actually have real physical high security locks. So you've got the mechanical element there. You're not going to get through without the correct key. And we're actually just overlaying this electronic element. And we've been there for a while using it as a cloud host, and now we've just taken that step further forward, and it's really back down to our iPhones and Galaxies, if they haven't caught fire. We can now do it over Bluetooth Low Energy. So I guess we're already there, and we have had no major issues or major objections. So.
I'll add from our experiences. I know both Paul and I made reference to the IHS, which is if you've heard of it before, I guess it's the world's largest marketing research company, and they've made fairly bold statements that within the security sector, the biggest growth elements are going to be cloud-based, and it's actually access control hosting, so great for you guys. I know from our region alone that last month we actually had 2,500 cameras attached to cloud-based solutions, and that was in a month. So we're seeing it, it's there, it's happening in the marketplace, and they're not. And I'd say that they're big corporate companies that have gone through the due diligence of actually penetration testing these products to make sure that they work and it is a reliable solution. I think there's in 2018 that you've got the Global Data Protection Act that'll be coming in. So where you've got cloud-based solutions, your Microsofts of this world, if there is any data breaches, the actual impact on their business isn't just reputation, but they can get fined a percentage of their global revenue. So the actual security within those environments is absolutely incredible, and it's probably more secure than it is actually hosting it by yourself. Which again, obviously you made reference to in your presentation. So I'd say we're there. I think it is just people actually trusting that it works now.
Great, thank you. Probably have time for one more question. Otherwise, I think we can wrap up there. We have a guided tour of the Aviva Stadium from Rala, a former kit man for the Irish rugby team, I believe. And if you want to just hang around here, if you'd like to go on the tour, then we'll finish there. And I'll just say thank you so much for coming along. Really, really appreciate your attendance. And thanks again to the presenters for a very informative morning. Thanks, guys.